Hello, welcome to episode 21 of Harmonious World. This week I'm joined by Sarah McKenzie, who's an incredible pianist and singer, and she had a very interesting lockdown version 1 here in England, even though she's from America. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Brilliant. What nationality are you?
So I'm Australian, but I studied in America, in Boston. I lived a little in France and in the UK, in London for a few years, and now I'm in California. So
Right.
I'm truly international, really.
Absolutely. So, can you talk to me about how these tracks came about? So there's Schneller and then Waiting Here for You. Very, very different. So how did that happen? And also explain to my listeners how your lockdown happened, because it's a fascinating story.
Well, yes. I came to France to do some concerts, and the day that I arrived, actually, the first one got cancelled, and they all got cancelled after that. And I do remember sitting in Nice, and the restaurant owner saying, the whole of France will be closed, from tomorrow, no restaurants, And so I thought, okay, I've got to get out. So we went to the UK, and it was more normal there initially, and we thought, oh good, it's normal here, we've escaped, that's fine. And then something like 3 days later, the whole of the UK locked down, and that was definitely panic and oh my gosh, this is real. Decided to get out of the city because you don't want to be locked down in a hotel room in London. I think that would be an expensive hotel. And so I found a place with a piano just in Sussex by the coast, near the cliffs of Dover. Very beautiful rural area. And the place we stayed had a beautiful piano, and so I was able to work through this period, which was a real godsend, I think. And also, because you can't do anything else but your 1 hour of exercise a day, get out and be amongst nature and the coastline. And I thought we'd be there for 2 weeks, but we ended up staying for 3.5 months. So my husband and I, we call it like a second honeymoon, I suppose. But I think what I'm most proud about that time is that we thought we've got to adapt. There's no concerts, and we need to at this moment not take a step back but take a step forward. So what can we do? And we found out that there was a little recording studio nearby with a baby grand piano, just a home studio, nothing fancy or anything like that. And so we decided let's do a whole bunch of virtual videos where we connect musicians from around the world. And we put the music together post. So no one's actually recorded at the same time, but let's see if it works layering one by the other. And it did, it really worked. And it's been an incredibly inspiring project at a time that was not very inspiring. And to work with so many musicians from Brazil, Argentina, Hungary, Australia, America, the UK was a really, really inspiring thing to do in such a pessimistic time when no one was working. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I think you were talking about the lockdown because we kind of thought we're an island, it won't hit us, we'll be fine. And it's all going on in Italy. Obviously it was Italy first, and then it was France and Spain, and we all thought, yeah, but that's over there, the other side of the water, it'll be fine here. And I think, as you say, it was 3 days and we went, okay, it's not going to be fine, but a couple of weeks, we'll be fine. And
Yep.
and then and here we are 9 months later.
It's still going. Yep.
Yeah.
It's so true.
What you were talking there about the recording process, and I think for many people we started thinking that people could play together and just be in different rooms, different parts of the world, but the sound over the telephone wise, it would be fine. And we realized that there were all these things about the delay.
Yes.
And so actually it became that I did some recording, and you had to do the sound first, and then you had to do the video afterwards, as if you were doing it at the
Well,
same time?
we did all of our videos at the same time, with one
Oh,
exception. With one exception, which was the "Waiting Here for You" video. But all of the others that we did were done live. So that, but you have to.
ah,
But the thing is that you have to put everybody together post. So you can't.
yeah,
True. If you were to try to, try to play with someone via Zoom, it doesn't work because of the delay. Yeah, but doing it, one by one is fantastic. That really works. And surprisingly, what I loved about it most was that it really got me to just focus on the music again. So I received the file, I wrote the arrangement, I send it off to the bass player, he records the bass line, and then he sends it back to me, and then I record my piano and singing on top. But first I listened very deeply to what he played, and if he did something, if his bass line went up high, then I would go up high. If he went down low, I would go down low. If he played some different harmonic changes, I was aware of that, so that when I recorded on top, I was completely in sync with him. And then the
right.
soloist would record on top of that, say a trumpet soloist, and their solo is completely improvised, but they're listening. And then we would add the drums in finally, and he specifically asked to be last so that he could react to everything that was going on. So it wasn't as if it was sort of a backing track and I sang my part over the top. It really was as normal as possible, given the circumstances.
That's really interesting, because I think often you would think, oh, well, you've got to put the bass and the drums down first, because that feels like the right thing. You can't do it without the drums. But actually, it's interesting that you say that about the drums going in last.
I had a conversation with a friend of mine who is a drummer, and that's what he said. Oh, we did one too, but the drums and bass have got to record first. I said, well, if you do that though, you'll risk it sounding like an Aebersold backing track, because the drum's not reacting to the soloist or anything else, So it is correct to have the drums last. And look, for all of the projects, even the ballads, we did record to click, so we are all in tone.
You have to, yeah.
But yeah, it works surprisingly well, I have to say. And I think the highlight for me was really becoming immersed in just the sound. Again, not worrying about what's going on in the world, but just focusing on that bass line and really trying to lock in and and when you see the creation happen all together, it's really, we were very excited, I have to say.
Yeah. Can I talk to you about the 4 trumpets in Schneller?
Absolutely.
So did you decide that you wanted the same performer playing the 4 tracks?
Yes, that was very important.
You've got a great trumpeter there. I mean,
he's the very best. Kenny Rampton from Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra.
Exactly.
Amazing player. I mean, we really lucked out, I suggested we should ask him, because he can only say no, so we asked him. And the thing is, what we have found during this time with all of the collaborations, even with the Waiting Here for You, which I suppose we'll get to, because some of those guys have played with Michael Jackson, Barbra Streisand, Celine Dion.
I know the names.
It's possible that it's really, in fact, it's probably highly, highly likely that I would never actually have had the opportunity to do these projects with this caliber of people in normal time, just because they would have been busy on tours with Barbra Streisand and, but because everybody's out of work, everybody sort of had time to do something. So it was amazing that Kenny Rampton could join us. And I reached out to Kenny. I said, Kenny, I'm the composer of Schneller. And look, this is a tune I wrote about the German Autobahn, and it's loud and it's fast. And I want one guy to play these 4 trumpet parts because it would be over the top, but appropriate for the song, And he said, it's really complicated. I'm not sure if I can do it, but let me give it a try. And it was just fantastic. When I got the files back, I thought it was absolutely brilliant what he did. And I have a great friend and collaborator in Australia, in Chong Lim. He's a great composer. He wrote a lot of the music for the Australian Olympics, and a wonderful composer. And he did all the mixing for the project. So
I saw that was Because I mean, you know, you talked about having an international history yourself, but to have, because some of it was from at Air in London and then mixed in Melbourne, and you know, so I think it's beautiful that we can do that. That there's the technology to do that, and that there's the will at the moment that people want to be collaborating.
Absolutely. I think it's been essential, you know, working with these guys. We did a beautiful Brazil project and for the Jobim tune, Corcovado. And when we put that one together, it was just so, you know, beautiful. It reminds you again why you do it, you know, in a time of crisis.
And wouldn't it be lovely if the whole world was like that? You know, let's all collaborate. You know, although to be fair, I mean, all this talk about the vaccine now, it feels as if scientists are doing this too. You know, scientists are collaborating, perhaps. You know.
No, absolutely. No, hopefully this is a good sign of things to come. Yep.
Exactly. So, talk me through Waiting Here for You.
Yes, well, this is a tune that I wrote, and actually, I was sort of thinking more of a Joni Mitchell, Jaco Pastorius kind of feeling for this song, and you know, I got in touch with a great electric bassist from Germany, Jürgen Attig, and he put down something just like that, you know, and I thought, fantastic. But then my producer and mixer, Chong Lim, who I was just mentioning, he suggested you should get this drummer, J.R. Robinson. He's amazing. Just, you know, see what he says. And I said, okay. And also this guitarist who's worked with Celine Dion and, you know, incredible musicians, Michael Thompson. And when they came back, I initially had a shock because it sounded like nothing I had ever done before, and definitely didn't sound like jazz anymore. In fact, it was something sort of, I don't even know how to describe it, something country, something Fleetwood Mac, something, I don't know. On the second listen, after I'd gotten over the shock, I thought this is fantastic as well. And what an amazing guitar solo from Michael Thompson.
Oh, it is stunning, isn't it?
I mean, it's incredible. And what he did, you know, at the caliber of his musicianship, he had about 4 guitar tracks. He had the rhythm, he had the lead, he had slide guitar in there. You know, he really gave incredible quality, musical quality, you know, and so it really was very exciting project, something different. And, you know, maybe that's what this time is all about as well. You know, you can't do what you normally do. So why not step out of your comfort zone, you know, a little bit and just try a few different things.
Yeah, it's fascinating because, especially when you're playing with people like that, they're bringing something new that, as you say, you perhaps wouldn't have had the opportunity to play with them because they would have been out on the road and doing other things. And, you know, these guys get booked up a couple of years in advance. So, you know, to suddenly have them available is a blessing in some ways. So capitalizing on that, on the uniqueness of the situation, is very interesting.
No, it's been a double-edged sword, you know.
Yes.
The industry is struggling at the moment, and you know, there's no festivals, there's no live music, and that's really hard. But at the same time, the adapting process, everyone we asked to do a collaboration with said yes, you know, and you know, that experience has been really wonderful. It was part of a larger program in the end called Music Connects Our World, which was 10 songs, all virtual projects or socially distanced. There was one where I wrote a choral piece, and we actually were able to get to Bavaria in Germany and record it with a socially distanced choir. It was very difficult because I was conducting the choir and they were spread over 2 levels and the organist was on the 3rd level, and I'm trying to look at him through the rear vision mirror while looking at the first soprano, and it was
wow.
But the result is amazing. They're incredible singers. You know, it's a beautiful collaborative project to do in a time when, you know, hope seems very small.
Yeah. Are you sensing that that people are starting to make plans for live music? Are people asking you for availability yet, or any of that stuff?
Well, after the first concerts got cancelled in March, April, we did come back in September, I think it was, to France and Italy, and we were able to do 4 out of the 5 concerts.
Oh.
So that's fantastic. Small theatres and, lovely places. And then everything locked down again. And of course, we have bookings for April, May, but they're all very tentative and might get cancelled again. The feeling is definitely when we were in France and we played there, that everybody wanted live music back again, and I was really, I am concerned that people will be too afraid to come out to concerts, and that will really affect the touring industry. But it didn't seem that way. Everybody was thanking us so much for coming, and this is the first concert that they've had in 6 months, and they're so excited, and it was sold out, socially distanced, of course. So I think people do want live music. I think there is a lot of hope for it. I think with the vaccine coming through, perhaps in the summer of next year, things will start. And then hopefully in 2022, it will start to feel more normal again. It's going to take a little bit more time, but I am optimistic about it.
Great. I think that's all we can be, really, actually, isn't it? So, just hoping. So I've just been watching a television broadcast here about the vaccine and saying that they're prioritising basically the older people, because the statistics are that more older people die from COVID. So perhaps it's going to be, because younger people are, obviously they're a bit more daring and a bit more willing to go out there. And so perhaps if those of us that are a bit older are vaccinated as well, we'll go, well, hang on, actually, maybe I've been vaccinated, I'll be fine, maybe I will go out. So, let's hope.
Definitely. I think the other thing that was very encouraging was the amount of effort that when we did play those concerts, the organisers went to make sure it was safe. They brought the people in socially distanced. Everyone had their masks. Everyone had to sanitize their hands before they came in. There was, a good metre or two between each person in the theatre. And, theatres are quite large. So you do have a lot of, it's not like you're in a train or an airplane for that matter.
Right.
I've been on 18 flights in the last couple of months.
Wow.
And I've had 3 negative COVID tests. So that's wonderful. And they do a good job on the airplanes also of making sure that, as to the best that they can, that it's safe. But, you would be safer in a concert hall, I would say, with how, they distance the people, than on an airplane where you sit right next to everybody. So yeah. I would like to encourage people to not be afraid to come back to the concerts, because I think that if you're going to go on an airplane, you can definitely go to a concert.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's hope so. I've got my first concert booked in for the middle of December, where I'm going to to hear a guy who's got a Christmas album out. And so he's got his launch.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that. So that's but I'll be driving down to London, not going on the train. As you say, I'm happier about going to a venue.
Where are you in England?
So I'm in Hertfordshire, about 30 miles north of London.
Beautiful. Amazing. It is. I absolutely love England. I really, really love it. I loved my time in Sussex. It's just, everywhere is so beautiful.
Yeah, and it was a great summer. I mean, we had amazing weather.
That's right. I mean, in that lockdown period, the first time, it was incredible.
It was beautiful. Yeah, we'd had a very, very wet period in sort of January, February, and then all of a sudden it eased off a little bit, and then May came and it was beautiful, and everybody was like, well, there's worse ways to be shut down, so actually.
Yeah, that's right. And, we had a little garden there in the place where we were, and it was so beautiful to see, the different roses spring up, and, the bluebells. The bluebells.
Oh, I know.
It was incredible. Every week there was something different, and that was really beautiful too, to just sort of slow down and remember.
And I think there's so much that you can gain from a chaotic or a crisis like this, that doesn't make it it doesn't make it better, and it does, but you just have to find those positives if you can.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I really hope that you get to come to the UK, because I'd love to hear you in person. I think that would be fantastic. So, I look forward to that.
Thank you very much. No, absolutely. I hope so too.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I've really enjoyed talking to you, Sarah.
You too, absolutely. And thank you for inviting me. And, I hope you, what do you play?
A saxophone.
Oh, fantastic.
I'm a sax player, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's so
yeah.
cool. Okay,
yeah.
well, I get to hear you play too.
Well, exactly. You never know. Can I also just ask you, over your shoulder, I can see a letter that has been framed.
Yes.
It looks like it's very interesting because obviously you've taken it very seriously because you've put it in a frame. So can I ask what it is?
Yes, it's a letter from the office of the French president. My manager wrote to him and asked if he would. I've played for Emmanuel Macron in France, and I've also been fortunate enough to be at a state dinner with François Hollande before him.
Oh, yeah.
So because I have had in the past a record contract with France, I have an affiliation with them. But anyway, I was just very proud of my manager because he wrote to the office of Emmanuel Macron and asked him whether he would come or someone from his office to see a commission that I had, which was a project called Paris of the West, a commission from America in San Francisco, where I wrote a whole suite of music based on the French influence in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah.
A really beautiful story. And he asked if someone would come and watch the concert and, join us in this wonderful event. And I said to him, to my manager, what were you thinking? They were never going to, send anyone. And they actually wrote back that we would like to thank Sarah McKenzie so much for her services to France. Oh. And Emmanuel Macron can't come this time, but we are very proud of Sarah and we would like to thank her. And so it is on, the official notehead, and so I it's there. I framed it because I said, anything is possible, and look what happens if you just ask. It didn't come about, but look what happened. And I sort of live by that motto as well. You should really just go beyond yourself, and you never know what might happen.
That's a very good way to live your life. Oh, thank you so much, Sarah. It's really nice to talk to you.
You too, absolutely. Stay well and safe.
Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to that interview with Sarah McKenzie. She was fascinating, and I loved the bit at the end about follow your dreams and just do it and ask. You never know what's going to happen. Thank you for joining me once more on Harmonious World, and I hope this finds you well and you're staying safe. I have some great new interviews lined up for the coming weeks, so please join me next time on Harmonious World. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.